Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the Transform Your Life podcast. Today, we're talking about something very sneaky, something that keeps people stuck for years without them even realizing it. I see it in myself, I see it in my clients, and chances are it's running in the background of your life too. It's called secondary gain. And it's one of those concepts that once you understand it, can change absolutely everything. We're going to break it down in a way that makes sense and I'll give you real life examples. And by the end, you'll know how to spot it, how to clear it, so you can finally get stuck. So, what the heck is secondary gain, anyways? In NLP, which is neuro linguistic programming, secondary gain is where your problem, yes, the thing you say you want to get rid of, is actually giving you a hidden benefit. Now, if you don't know already, I'm a professional home organizer for the last 9 years, as well as I'm a neuro linguistic programming practitioner, NLP practitioner, helping women declutter their mental, emotional, and physical clutter. So the benefit that might be keeping you safe, or rather the benefits of your problem might be safety, comfort, control, attention, or even a reason not to do something scary. So again, the benefit of your problem might be for the sake of safety, comfort, control, attention, or even a reason not to do something scary. It's usually subconscious, which means you aren't aware of it. On the surface, you're frustrated and want the problem gone, right? But underneath the surface, that problem is quietly meeting a need that you have no idea even exists. So let me give you a few examples. Staying in a job you hate because it feels secure and you avoid the fear of change. Now, a lot of times that one is obvious, although not always. You might be staying in a job because of the reason you think financial safety, but really you might actually be terrified of change. The second one is keeping clutter in your home because it's tied to memories, identity, or just familiarity. So a lot of times, or rather every time when I work with clients working with their physical clutter and I ask them what their goal is, what percentage, for example, of the clutter do they want to get rid of? A lot of times people say they want to get rid of a lot of their clutter, and then by the end, sometimes they do, but sometimes they don't. And for the people that said they wanted to get rid of a lot of clutter and then they don't, I ask them, why did you want to get rid of that big of a percentage of your clutter? And then I asked them as well, have they tried to do this in the past? What is keeping them from getting rid of their clutter? What is their ultimate goal? Because sometimes they think that they are ready to get rid of the clutter when in fact, the reasons to keep the clutter are stronger, but they're actually not even aware of the reasons why they're keeping it. A big thing that I talk about is identity. A lot of people will hold on to clutter because of an identity of who they wish they were, someone who they used to be, or someone that they hope to be in the future. So, for example, if someone is holding on to baby gear, like baby clothes, shoes, everything baby related, maybe it's because they wish that they would have another baby. Are they ever going to again in the future? Maybe not. Have they even had a baby at all? Maybe not. Who knows? But the thing is, that's their identity. That's their hopes and their dreams are tied up in this stuff. And if they feel like if they get rid of the stuff, then the dream is gone. Same thing. I was working with a gentleman once and he had a lot of hosting dishes. He was a single man, and his hopes were to eventually have people over in his home to host meals and gatherings. Now, this wasn't a reality yet, and so he didn't want to get rid of the hosting dishes because that was a goal of his. Now, is that ever going to happen? Who knows? He has to actively take steps towards that goal. He has to actually invite people over. Now, some people may never actually do that because they don't realize the fears that are keeping them stuck. And that's where secondary gain comes. You may have a dream, a desire, or a goal, but it's not happening because there's something within you that's stopping you. And that's what I love helping people uncover. Because once you uncover the reason why you're not actually going after your goal and what you're actually gaining from it instead, which could be safety, which could be comfort, etc., then by clearing that out, you can actually go and do things. Another example is avoiding setting boundaries because it keeps the peace and avoids uncomfortable conflict. So if you never had to set a boundary with a loved one, a friend, a colleague, or whatever it may be, you're able to maintain the peace in the environment. Now, if you flip the switch and decide, okay, I realize that that's been my secondary gain by not setting the boundary. I'm staying safe within my body, so I'm not creating turbulence and I'm keeping the peace. But by doing so, I'm abandoning myself and dishonoring myself by allowing someone, for example, to take advantage of me. By helping you clear out the secondary gain, you can then go ahead and set the boundary and also uphold the boundary because you became aware of why you weren't setting a boundary. And now you have the tools to not only set the boundary, but uphold it because you know the benefit of doing so. Okay. So a big reason why I always suggest my clients to not just book a single session with me for NLP, but book several sessions is so that they have the support in between sessions in case they set a boundary and they're getting backlash or whatever, and they're not feeling safe within their body. And I'm not meaning like it's impacting their safety, but internally, maybe a little bit of anxiety is coming up, a little bit of discomfort. I can help them through that and help them understand why they might be feeling that way and help them develop the safety within their body so that they can maintain that boundary because the boundary needs to be set. Okay. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a doctor, anything like that. I've just done a lot of work, not only on myself, but with a lot of my clients, and I've trained a lot in it. And so that's why I love helping people do that. And I love seeing the positive impact of this work. Another one might be staying overly busy so you don't have to race your deeper fears or emotion. Some people stay busy as well because they avoid having to have uncomfortable conversations. I've had a client in my past. She was really busy with her daughter and her other kids. And I like, well, what can happen when the kids are out of the house? Like she hadn't gone on a date with her husband for a long time. And you might feel this way in your situation. So if you resonate, well, there you go. So she was keeping herself busy being a mom. Her full identity was wrapped up in caretaking and being a mother. But what happens when the kids grow up and leave the nest? Now you're faced with a stranger who is your husband, but because there's been such a long disconnect, you haven't connected, you haven't gone on a date. Sometimes people don't want to face the fact that person has changed. What if we don't get along anymore? What if we have nothing in common? What if we're not interested in each other anymore? So it's better to stay busy, taking care of the kid, bringing them to their sports, taking care of the house, etc., instead of facing the what if me and my husband don't actually connect anymore. Now the problem is, yes, it's keeping you safe by being busy, which is the secondary gain of this illusion of safety from the discomfort. But what you're losing out on is the connection that you could be having with your husband or by yourself, etc. So there's so many ways that secondary gain shows up in our lives, and a lot of times it's just masking. Um, there's also, other secondary gain. I don't really want to get into this one because who knows what people will say, but I'm going to say it anyways. Let's say someone is always sick, like from school, like they can't go to school because they oftentimes have a tummy ache, but really they don't want to go to school because they're getting bullied. And what they realize is when I'm sick, mom gives me more attention. Mom stays home from work. Mom takes care of me. She gives me the undivided attention and love that I'm seeking. Therefore, every time I'm sick, I'm getting that love and attention that I crave that I might not be getting otherwise. And so it's better to be sick than to be healthy and not get that attention from mom. So that's how it can show up as well sometimes. So just secondary gain is showing up everywhere. It can be very difficult to spot it on your own. Even sometimes myself, I have a lot of friends who are NLP practitioners, which is great. So we can do like session swaps and figure out where our secondary gains are. It's very difficult to spot on your own. Super, super important for you to do this work if you're really wanting, or if you're really trying to create change in your life and it's just not happening. There could be several reasons why, but one of them could be that you're getting a secondary gain from your problem. So the wild part is if you don't uncover the hidden payoff, the gain from it, you can do all the vision boarding and affirmations and the steps and the actions towards creating change. You could do it all, but you might still end up sabotaging yourself either right away. Like you might start going to the gym, and then after 3 days, you're like, oh my gosh, I feel great. And then you stop all of a sudden. And you're like, what the heck? Why does this keep happening? The secondary gain might be because you feel safer being overweight because maybe you feel like people aren't noticing you, and then therefore you're feeling safe from the attention of men, for example. Or if the rest of your family is overweight and you start losing weight, maybe you feel like you're going to lose the connection. So it's safer for you to stay overweight so you can maintain the connection and acceptance from your family versus the losing weight and then maybe losing connection. You don't know if that's going to happen. Maybe it has happened in the past, which is causing you to sabotage and go backwards. But there's so much more that we can address in a positive light versus staying where you're at. So secondary gain is such a big deal. And this is why. So your conscious mind, the part of you that's listening to me right now, might be all in for change, okay? But your subconscious mind's number one job is to keep you safe, not to make you happy. If that old habit, pattern, or situation gives you a sense of safety or predictability, your brain will cling to it, even if it's making you miserable, okay? That's why the power of visualization is so powerful, because you can begin to recite these new habits, routines, rituals, and the way of being. You can start to trick your brain into believing that it's already happening, so you don't have to live out the sabotage. You can start to train your brain to think that's who you already are. And this is why people sometimes self-sabotage right when things are going well, because deep down there's a fear that if it actually succeeds, they'll lose something important. They could lose approval, control, connection, identity, safety. So let's put this into a home organization example, because a lot of people that listen to the podcast have followed me for a long time because of my home decluttering and organizing tips. And also, home organizing clicks for quite a few people. So imagine you have a giant pile of stuff in your garage, and every time you look at it, you feel stressed and think, I need to deal with that. But you never do. How come? Because that clutter has a secondary. Maybe those boxes remind you of a time in your life when you felt loved or secure. Maybe keeping them means you don't have to make a tough decision about what to keep or let go of. Maybe dealing with them feels too overwhelming, and avoiding them lets you stay in your comfort zone. Maybe within those boxes are photos of a past that you had before that you're still grieving or haven't grieved yet. Okay? Maybe it's filled with things that you wish you still did but no longer do. Maybe the boxes belong to a loved one that has passed on or that you're no longer connected with, and it would require you having to reopen up that conversation or make really hard decisions. The mess is annoying, but also it's protecting you from grieving, from making hard decisions, or facing the unknown. That's exactly how secondary gain works in our minds. Until you address the reason you're holding on to the clutter, physical, emotional, mentally, you'll keep walking past it, telling yourself, I'll deal with it later. So here's how to spot the secondary gain if you want to try it on your own, okay? Here's a couple questions you can ask yourself. Number one, if I got rid of this problem tomorrow, what would I lose? If I got rid of this problem tomorrow, what would I lose? What's the upside of keeping this problem exactly as it is? So what is the upside of keeping this problem exactly as it is? Number three, what scary or uncomfortable thing would I have to face if this problem disappeared? So I posted a video the other day on TikTok, and I was wearing my gym workout attire. Now the same video I posted both on YouTube and Facebook, it was received well. On TikTok, instead, I got a lot of comments that I don't enjoy receiving from men. Now, I have two choices. I can decide to not let that bother me and just go ahead and delete the comment, or I can hide away, hide my body, dress in a way that I won't receive those comments ever again. So I have those two choices. And the same thing goes for literally everything in our life. We can ask ourselves, is the pain or discomfort of one thing better than the other, or vice versa? So what scary or uncomfortable thing would you have to face if the problem disappeared? So I had a client once who wanted to launch a business, but she kept procrastinating, and we discovered her secondary gain was avoiding conflict with her family. Starting a business might mean they wouldn't approve, or she didn't want to lose their support. Maybe they didn't understand. Maybe they valued a safe, secure job instead. Maybe they just didn't understand what she was going after. She wanted to connect with them unknowingly, and so she procrastinated instead of putting her business out there. Once she saw that that was a secondary gain, we could work on finding new ways to feel supported while still moving forward. She could also have a conversation around her fears with her family members as well. What I did one time was I actually had like an imaginary conversation with my parents without actually having to have one, expressing my fears and worries if I was to go on and create success in my business. So really, really powerful stuff. Sometimes you actually have to fix the person or the problem with them directly. You can actually do it, and that's something that we can with sessions as well. The goal isn't to shame yourself for having a secondary gain. It's to see it clearly and then ask yourself, how can I meet this need in a way that supports my growth instead of keeping me stuck? If your gain is safety, how can you create safety in your body and in your mind while taking steps forward in the direction of where you want to go? If it's connection, how can we get that connection in healthier ways? So if you're in a toxic relationship with a friend, intimate partner, whatever it may be, how can you still get connection while letting go of that toxicity in your life? Or how can you reach the comfort over whatever it is that you're receiving from that particular situation that you could get elsewhere? In NLP, we use techniques to bring the subconscious payoff into the light and then rewire it so you can meet your needs without holding on to the problem. It's like finally organizing that garage once you realize what you've been avoiding and why you've been avoiding it. And then you can take the steps to keep the sentimental stuff, for example, so that you love while letting go of the things that are actually weighing you down and getting in the way. So, my friend, secondary gain can be one of the biggest invisible chains holding you back from your goals. Once you uncover it, you can finally stop fighting yourself and start moving forward with all the energy aligned. So if you want help uncovering your own secondary gain and clearing it for good, I'm offering free 30-minute clarity breakthrough sessions this time. We'll pinpoint exactly what's keeping you stuck and create a plan to move you forward. You can book yours by clicking the link in the show. And if you find that after that session we start to uncover the reasons why you're feeling stuck, we can move forward in figuring out if we're a good fit to work together, because I believe that this work will absolutely change your life if you let it. And the support between our sessions together is kind of like the glue that brings it all together. So I just want to thank you again for listening to another episode of the Transform Your Life podcast. Please come hang out with me on Instagram at _CassHenry. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out and share this with a friend who you think might find it valuable in their life. Remember, you're not lazy, you're not broken, you're just meeting a need in a way that no longer serves you, and you always have the power to choose another way. Sending you so much love and gratitude, and I'll see you next week on the Transform Your Life podcast.